Good evening and welcome along to the latest edition of the Endless Celts Podcast. It's the return of the double pivot with the Wednesday show that just can take all angles. We'll welcome some stuff for the commenters and stuff. They can get their questions in. It can be anything. We will talk Celtic, but we're willing to talk a lot of other things, just anything that folk want to talk about. But I'm joined tonight with Ross. He's getting back to full fitness and getting back on the podcast. How are you, mate?
Say
that like you were no well there.
Aye, Kenny. But I got what you meant. But I'm good. I was it was last Monday I was on. Still kind of not fully back, but I'll be on when I can. And I'm on holiday Thursday, Friday. So I'm enjoying a wee pint of Guinness. There you go, James. I'll send you a photo later.
I'm sure you've already put it on Facebook and fucking Instagram and all that anyway.
no, the night, kid.
It's good to see Ross. And how's yourself, James? You've been getting well into FIFA 98. You had a shot at it yet?
Aye. I think I'm just about up to the current day in it, but no, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Aye, good to get the wee man back on my sparring partner. So. Looking forward to it.
Tonight could be fun. It's been getting a bit too friendly in the group chat between you two and that, so we had to pair these up together to upset you again and that. Get normal service and all that back.
I thought you wee man syndrome on both sides.
Well, as you know, James maybe not so, but as you know, Ross, I'm about 2 centimetres taller than you, if that. So
aye, it's good.
I'm not exactly blessed with height in the day's podcast, but anyway.
Same height line, don't.
Well, this is true, Ross. This is very true. That'll get more in the comments excited, that kind of chat. But, as I say, welcome along to everybody in the comments and that. But as it is got a day, things are a wee bit different on it at times. And I'll come straight to yourself, James. Now, as I said off air, this is totally no stole for open goal. And it's not so. I mean, it's called the Wednesday wins after all, but it's a pet peeve if you like. Doesn't need to be football, just anything that annoys you.
Your man's just stole my thunder there. I was going for my tap in one. Guinness drinkers, no all Guinness drinkers, just specific Guinness drinkers. Evening, Ross. Evening, Tony. Evening, every cunt in the group chat. Franny, you've changed your tune the last couple of weeks or not. But no, I'll go into a pub and I'll see guys that my dad knew, fucking guys that my granddad knew, and they'll be sitting drinking a Guinness. They've no took a photo yet. They've no put it on Facebook. They've no put it on Instagram. They've no get their glass pointing towards fucking Bono. They're no splitting the G. They've no get wee gadgets to pour it out properly. It doesn't need to be fucking a certain temperature. It doesn't need to be really cold. It's a drink. Jesus. It's not a personality trait. And I know it's been said in another podcast, but you will vouch for me. I've said it in the group chat for months upon months. So I'll get that off my chest and get it fucked in room 101. No, all Guinness drinkers. I am sure there is some Guinness drinkers that are absolutely sound, but apparently there's none in our group chat that are Guinness drinkers that are absolutely sound. And Franny, you've let me down in recent weeks. I know you were always on my side. You went to Belfast. I don't know if to be fair, Stephen gets a pass. He doesn't do it, but I don't know if it fucking heater there or something's went to your head, and I don't know. You've totally changed, mate. My opinion's changed on you in the last couple of weeks.
I've absolutely flipped 180. Not tonight. I actually gave Ross it stinking in Germany when we were over a bit Guinness and that because he was sitting talking about how shite the Guinness was and all that. And I went through him and. Oh well, as Steve Carell said, how the turntables have turned. Ross, I'll come to yourself and your sort of pet peeve, if you like. Is it maybe change to James?
Aye, well, no, James was one of them, but I wasn't going to. I've not had enough Guinness to out him yet. But I mean, I've got a list as long as your arm. I mean, you get there's the Facebook. James obviously touched on the social media there with the pints of Guinness, but you get the Facebook wankers, if you like, and it's folk who like post like they've maybe had their first Saturday in 6 months where they've not had a drink, and they got up on the Sunday morning and they later on they have a day with like the kids or that, and then later on in the afternoon they'll post a fresh Sunday, way to the park with the kids, wholesome Sunday. Just like, who started using wholesome? Like, just stop that. Like, just put it in the bin. Stop using words that didn't actually go with what you're saying to exaggerate it. I hate folk that tag themselves in Facebook in the hospital with absolutely no context. Like, what?
PM you, babe.
Mail me chick,
Aye, like, just
PMs you,
stop
babe.
that. You're a complete attention seeker. There's nothing wrong with you. You've got a broken fingernail and you're in A&E for nothing. But and the one final one is folk that pronounce TH fa. It's like, it's just lazy. It's not even hard to say the TH, and it just boils my blood. By the way, one more in terms of like.
Wait, what?
Go,
folk that pronounce TH.
No, they pronounce it fa. So like
FI, if you like.
Aye.
Artificial.
Aye, that kind of thing, eh? But starting with going with the football theme, which we're actually
don't speak English, mate.
Starting with the football theme, I think in terms of football, one of my biggest pet peeves, wholesome headphones. One of my biggest pet peeves is basically referees. Referees know, like, understanding the game and giving decisions, but also the rules where the referees feel that they're unable to use their common sense, and they just give a decision by the exact rule instead of sort of refereeing the actual game. And another thing is, it was a prime example in the Scotland game. Now, I've went off in one here, but it was a prime example in the Scotland game the other night. It really annoys me. Like, Scott McTominay was on the stretch and he won the ball, and his momentum took him through, with the ball through the player. But he's won the ball cleanly, and he gets booked. It's not even a free kick, but he gets booked. That just really boils my blood about the modern game now. That's me.
I will. Good. I'll kind of come back to you about Scotland, but I just want to address this comment for 8R. I mean, if that's what my talk, I'm chucking this in the bin. If that's
Mr. Tumble wouldn't be caught dead in that.
By the way, Mr. Tumble's the next one to come out. He's surely he's the next one to get caught. He'll be the next one to be caught. It's something. I actually like watching Mr. Tumble with him, but there's a one about him, like, it's something not right there. Something
you
not
sign.
Right there. You sign. All I get from my win is more milk, and I'm like, oh. But Ross, as you touched on the Scotland game, we'll kind of come back to, obviously, you're a big follower of the national team and that. So just kind of how you've seen the last couple of games, and say Steve Clarke's has been under a bit of pressure, but personally myself, I thought the last two games he got a performance out of the team that showed that he has still the backing of that dressing room.
I don't think it was ever in doubt that he still had the backing in the dressing room. You could see even in the Poland game, where, I mean, they lost 3-2, they should have won that game. You could see that the players were still playing for them, but that game and then the Portugal game, the first Portugal game where we lost 2-1 over there, I think you could see that it was individual mistakes rather than tactical. And I think the Portugal game and the Croatia game there, I think he got his tactics bang on. He was very unlucky against Croatia. Lost not as late a goal as what we had been losing, but it was still a fairly late goal, and then we were very unlucky not to get that. Obviously, the one it was offside. It was offside, but I mean, we get that, and you've picked up a point in Croatia, and then you play Portugal at home and you pick up another point. I think he got his tactics bang on, but for a bit of quality up the top end of the pitch, we might even have won the game. I think was it last night they played? Aye, it was last night. I think for me, I think it's evident now. Obviously, we lost Hackett and then Patterson just before the Euros, and I think they two, for to play with a back three and then wing backs, I think they two we could have dealt with losing Hickey because Patterson comes in as he had done, but then losing Patterson as well and having to go to Ralston, I don't think he's sort of got the attributes to play that sort of wing back role, if you like. I think he plays better in a flat back four, and I think his moving to that in the last few games, I think, has really suited him and it's helped us. And I think if we'd probably done that in the Euros, it would have made a difference, albeit we should have attacked more than what we did in the Euros, but I think it would have made a difference to us in that tournament. I'm not saying we would have got through because of it, but I understand why Steve Clarke didn't change to the back four before the tournament, because we'd played with the back three for so long that going into a major tournament would have been a big ask to change the system entirely. But I think off the back of these last couple of games, for me, I was sort of flip-flopping with Clarke, in that I thought I said previously that I would have trusted him for another qualifying campaign, but I don't know if I would trust him in another major tournament with us. But having a wee bit of thinking time and seeing the changes he's made and stuff like that, I have to say I'm back on board with Steve Clarke. I think he is the man for the job right now. I think that he deserves another qualifying campaign. If he can get us to a major tournament, to the World Cup, that would be absolutely fantastic. And then hopefully he gets players back, and maybe even like guys like Doak and stuff that are coming through, they'll be more bedded into the team and more confident. And we'll just see where it takes us. But for me, the last few games have been quite positive, albeit we lost one, drew one, but you have to take into account the level of opposition. I think we were unlucky against Croatia, and I think we defended really, but certainly defended our box brilliantly the other night. And as I said earlier, a wee bit of quality. I think Christie missed a really good opportunity, and then McTominay in the first half, that was a brilliant chance. I mean, he scores that usually 9 times out of 10. He scores it. He misses that the other night. So, for me, all in all, I think it was a decent international break. We picked up a point. Hopefully, we can't qualify out of that group now. That was, I think, that was confirmed after the loss at Croatia. But pick up as many points as you can, and 1 point against Portugal, albeit it was home, is a good start.
Nah, I think it's very good points, and I don't know about yourself, James. I don't think you're massive on international football, but I think you've maybe been getting in lately with the wee boy or something. I think he's got into the fit boys, you know.
I have a different go that for. He's 100 times more into it than me since the Euros. Just the whole Scotland thing. Look, Ross is obviously, I mean, even yourself, you're a lot more invested in it than me. I essentially watch Scotland as a neutral. I generally don't care either way. But as I say, what I think watching him, you'll obviously disagree with being invested in it. But I just think watching Scotland's a bit of a chore, to be honest, under Clarke. I know he's changed the formation, and I know it was a step up more position. But last night they had a couple of chances in the first half. I think it was a McTominay with the header that he probably should have scored. And then obviously the chance that Ross mentioned as well. But I mean, the last the second half, the second half, it was an absolute chore to watch. It was boring to watch. But as I say, I've no really get a dug in that fight, you know what I mean? So I'm just watching it, looking for a good game. And don't get me wrong, if we do the same in Bergamo in a couple of weeks, next week, I'll be absolutely delighted and all the moon with it. So probably a wee bit of contradiction for myself, but I'm probably the wrong person to ask about Scotland. But and it's probably going to be harsh because I think the two of them, along with Ralston, were good last night. But I think the Craig Gordon thing, his farewell was supposed to have been the Finland game. He got his big send off before the Euros, and then I know there's injuries, but just to get back to a fucking 87-year-old goalie that's got his team bottom of the league, albeit as I say, was good last night, and Kenny McLean as well. I think it's pretty uninspiring, but like he's changed his tactics. He got a result last night, but it's just a bit of a chore to watch. But as I say, I'm not invested in it, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
No, I totally get that. And it's just what I think a wee bit maybe international football's lost its sort of glory a wee bit, and it just maybe feels there's a lot more games. And I've left this comment up, like, if anything good that came out obviously it was no ideal that you're watching the football on YouTube, Ross, but Charlie Mulgrew yesterday was class. I thought some of his commentary was brilliant.
He was really good. That one he said starting a motorbike when
for Ronaldo,
and he miscontrolled it. And it went like through his boot. It's like starting a motorbike. But see, to be honest with you, I've been really impressed with Charlie Mulgrew. And I think that's the first time he's done co-coms. But usually when he's like in this, well, it's got to say in the studio, but it's generally at the side of the park when I think it's Premier Sports. But I think he generally speaks well about the game. I think I said previously on a podcast that when you look at what you have to listen to on Sky with Nelson's, I can't even mind of that one, to be honest with you, mate.
I think it was late in the first half, but
really, but I think he comparing to me like Chris Boyd. I think when you listen to him and Michael Stewart, I think they talk in depth, and they're a really good listen, a really good watch, and obviously Charlie Mulgrew is quite a funny guy. He's got a bit of personality about him, so I always enjoy Charlie Mulgrew on the telly.
I guess
that one is. I guess he had that one as well where Ralston got turned inside out, and he was like, I think it was Bernardo Silva. He was like, he's just screwed Ralston into the ground.
I missed that
one. I have been getting to celebrate James. I know he's kind of been doing his coaching badges and stuff as well, but I'll just quickly come to you, Ross. I know you kind of touched on it, but are you still sticking with Steve Clarke then? Yes, aye.
I'm all right. For the moment, absolutely. I don't think, can't think of anybody else that would come in and do, or certainly the Scottish managers available. I can't think of anybody else that would come in and do anything much different to what Steve Clarke's doing at the minute. Especially with the injuries he's suffered.
He's there.
Betty Vogts.
I mean, Dushel, get him fingered.
Easy. We'll just wait for Pep to leave at the end of the season and go get Pep. It's easy.
By the way, what must it be like now? What about, did you hear that Dean Ashton as well? He went, I mean, I'm totally underwhelmed in that. I mean, I get that he won the Champions League with Chelsea, but Lampard got them at the groups. All right, mate. No bother. What's this? What Joseph Hill boys? Why Portugal do the huddle and Scotland did not? Don't know. I don't think Scotland's ever done the huddle. Not that I know anyway.
I don't think so, no.
I don't know if Portugal tend to do it. I don't know. But we'll kind of move on to sort of the youth football in Scotland, and we can focus a lot on Celtic, James. I know you've had some good opinions on it in the past, so it was kind of wanted to talk about it. Obviously, being a bit naive back at the time when Marcel, obviously the reserve league had went. Now, I was all for this Lowland League. I think it was more looking at competitive football without being a wee bit blinkered to the actual level of that competitive football. But it's just obviously what got me thinking about it is obviously Luke McCowan came in late in the window, and I know he's not a youngster, but it's just obviously that Celtic fan coming through seems buzzing to play for the team and that, and it just got me thinking it would, in an ideal situation, yes, you would have more youth players coming through, but it's just, I think the nature of I know Celtic sometimes get a bad rep, but I think it's more a Scottish football issue than Celtic per se. I think I totally used that word wrong there.
My name's no Percy, but no, it's I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I think Celtic could do more, and I think, as you say, I agree, it is overall a Scottish football problem. But it was my big thing right away and it still remains the same. See, for me, as long as the setup in terms of the B team remains the same as it is the new, we're never really going to bring anybody kind of through the way we've done in the past with Callum McGregor, Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney was a kind of needs must scenario, and it probably wouldn't have happened. Obviously, we know the story with Ronnie Dyler, but excuse me, sorry. But look, nowadays, and I know I've kind of done it to death, but the rules with the B team. Obviously, they can't get promoted, and if they play a certain amount of games for the first team, then they can't play with the B team, and they're probably not going to be good enough to start every game for the first team. So you're essentially wasting a good bit of their development within a season. So I know with fucking the pathway to the youth team, fucking make the tea for the guy that makes the coffee, pathway manager or whatever his title is. But as long as the youth set up with the B team in the Lowland League and the kind of rules run about it remain the same, I don't really think there's going to be any scope for improvement. As I said before, you're asking a young boy, maybe 17, 18, 19, to jump up 4 divisions for one Saturday to the next, and then the next Saturday to drop down 4 divisions again, and it's not really fair on the player themselves. And then you've got all the, as I say, the things about it with our number of appearances, and I think you only need to even look as far back as last season or the summer, even with Daniel Kelly. I mean, he came in, played a few games in the first team, didn't look out of place, but realistically, he wasn't going to get in ahead of any of the first team midfielders. So he was going to be getting used sparingly, as you would expect at that age, to be fair. But then once he's made that kind of first couple of appearances, you're starting to think, well, is it really worth it? Maybe playing him for 40 minutes if it in total for the sake of him not being able to play for the B team again. So it's that kind of catch-22. Unless you get somebody coming through that's shit hot, basically, that is going to come into the first team, then I don't think there is any kind of middle ground. And if you think it from a player's point of view as well, as I say, the 4th division gap, kind of 1 week to the next, you're probably no fancying it. You're literally playing against fucking postmen and a part-time league podcast teams as we've seen last year. So you're probably, as a young player, you can understand why they're going to be looking to not necessarily move away in a permanent, but why you'd probably favour going out and loan somewhere to play at a higher level. And I know that Rangers and Hearts had B teams in that last year. I think Rangers pulled out this year. I think Hearts are still there. But the lack of a reserve league as well is something that kills. That's a Scottish football thing. I mean, Celtic obviously can't create a reserve league themselves, but I think taking the reserve league away and then doing this B team thing in the Lowland League, it's just cutting your nose to spite your face. And I know the reserve league was taken away for basically cost issues across the board with different clubs, but I think as a whole it would benefit Scottish football. You'll get the occasional one coming through like we've seen with Lennon Miller, but I mean, you compare it to the way it used to be, you think of everybody coming through at Hibs, you'd have a few coming through at ourselves back in the day. It was genuinely a kind of a much higher standard than even the national team. You look at the national team now, obviously we've just finished talking about Scotland. I mean, who's the youngest players in that squad yesterday? Ben Doak, probably. And he's had to go down to Liverpool and then get shipped out and loan to Middlesbrough. If he was here, he'd be scouting about the first team, if not playing in the Lowland League. Do you know what I mean? So, I think Celtic could be doing a lot more with it, but I think overall, Scotland in the SFA could also be doing a lot more with it.
I know, I totally agree with James. I think, as I say, I was probably a wee bit naive back at the time when the Lowland League came in. I think it would maybe help Ross if you could go up the divisions, but then certain teams probably didn't only too keen on that because it might stop their progress up the league, I feel like. But I know you're kind of more of a here and now. Not saying you don't like to see youth coming through, but you're more focused on the sort of first team. But where are you with the whole sort of youth set up and that?
Well, you're right. I do focus on the first team more. Obviously, that's the be all and end all. That's the main team. But I mean, if a guy's good enough for me, like say, I mean, the last one was probably Kieran Tierney, and he was exceptional, and he got into the team and he held his place down, and I love to see that. It's great. But right now, the way the setup is, I sort of echo pretty much everything James said. I think it's when that Lowland League came into play, I was a bit like yourself, Franny. You don't know the full ins and outs yet, but you try and read as much as you can. And on paper at the time when it was brought in, it did seem as if it could be a good idea. You were maybe you were thinking maybe these young guys are going to get the experience of playing against men and stuff like that. But I mean, what is it? 3-4 years down the line now. I think it might even be more than that. I'm not sure, but I think it's evident to everybody now that it's not working in terms of being able to bring young guys through. Like James said, the amount of divisions, the levels you're jumping if you're going for there and coming into the first team, and then I'm not 100% sure. Is it like if you play? Is it 5 games or something for the first team? Aye. I mean, that in itself needs to be changed before anything else. At least give the guys like a chance to, if they are going to listen, if they play 5 games for the first team, then you think maybe they are going to be good enough if they play more than that. But if nothing else, change that rule and don't limit the amount of appearances you can make for the first team, and then kind of get back into the can't call it the reserves, but into the B team. But for me, there is reserves. Listen, I know in this country it might be difficult financially for all teams to be able to do it, but the reserve teams, that is the way forward. That's how it's always been throughout the years, and it's worked. Listen, when we had the reserve league, look at the players we brought through. Look, you had Maloney, you had McGeady, even guys that came into the team and played a lot of games, but then maybe didn't quite make the grade, but then left Celtic and had quite good careers elsewhere. You look at guys like
Ross Wallace, Craig Beattie,
Jamie Smith, guys like that. Did you say Ross Wallace there, James? Aye, all guys like that. They played a lot of games for Celtic, and they went on to have good careers. Even like guys like Stephen McManus, he gets forgotten about. He came through the system, became Celtic captain, and it was all at a time when we had a reserve league. And I hear people saying that there's no a pathway and stuff like that. And to an extent, because of the way the setup is, there isn't a pathway to an extent. But at the same time, if you are good enough, you'll get into that team, absolutely. But it's really difficult now, and I think the way the setup is, it's really hampering these young guys. And I think, James, you touched on I forgot his name now. He went to Millwall there. Daniel Kelly. I mean, he's came in there, and like James said, he looked all right. And you would like to think that guy, if there was a reserve league, that guys like him would have remained at Celtic and bided their time. But he knows that he's a good player. I don't think for a minute. I can't mind exactly what was said with Brendan Rodgers, but I don't think for a minute Daniel Kelly thought he should be first pick and walk straight into that midfield. If there'd been a reserve team, I think he'd been quite happy to go and play in the reserves and get maybe 10 appearances off the bench or whatever throughout the season. But he knows that he can't get the 10 appearances and get that sort of feel for being in the first team, but also still playing regular football. Whereas he's only getting a handful of appearances and it's not enough. So he's probably thought to himself, listen, there'll be money involved as well, don't get me wrong. But for these guys to flourish, if you like, and their growth coming into the game, moving to Millwall is probably a better move for him, because he probably will get more first team football than what Celtic can offer him. And it's really stopped us from bringing through the youth. And listen, we love every Celtic fan. I think every football fan likes to see their own coming through and making the grade. And right now, the way it's set up is really hampering that. And I think it's evident that for so long we haven't had young guys coming through to the first team and making the grade. So something needs to change, definitely.
I think, sorry to just jump in there again, but I think Boston Lawal's probably the perfect example of it. We brought him in for Watford's academy. He seemed to be really highly rated. We stuck him in the B team. Probably levels below even whatever Watford's academy's playing at. He apparently looked head and shoulders the best in the B team, albeit when he came up to the first team and friendlies or whatever, he looked miles off it. We then loan him out to Fleetwood. He gets rave reviews down there. He comes back up. We see him in pre-season. Clearly wasn't good enough for the first team, but he's clearly also levels above playing for the B team. So he's at an age where he still could develop, he still could get better, there could have been a future for him, but I mean, you can't just keep loaning guys out forever for the length of their contract. So he found himself in that situation whereby, does he go back out and loan somewhere, or does he just try and get a permanent move elsewhere? And obviously we ended up getting a great deal for him, which to be fair he couldn't knock back, but just in terms of a player, I think he's the kind of perfect example to show the negative side of the youth development in Scotland, and how you basically are forced it because of the way the setup is.
No, I totally agree, and I think he's made good points. I think, like you say, it's Celtic do get a bad rep for it. They might be a wee bit stuck in the times when it comes to the financial side. That I'm not saying go and pay guys 20, 30 grand a week that you can't play and can't really properly contribute, but maybe they could try incentivise them a wee bit to stay. But I think the whole setup is totally not helping how to try and progress these players. And as I say, there's all that jobs for the boys chat as well when you've got like Dan a day coming in as the pathway manager and things. But and is it Johnny Hayes has came back as well, and these guys might be brilliant at their job. We just don't know. But for the outside looking in, it doesn't look like we've really scouted the best in the world. But I know, without doing any proper research, I think a lot of clubs certainly do get ex-players back in to help with the sort of the youth side of things. So I'm not, without being totally educated, I'm not going to totally dive into that, but it just feels like maybe we could do a wee bit better there. But I think when we're just sitting sort of slated the whole setup, it would be hard to try and then say, oh, well, we'll go and get the best in class, if you like, at that job. Right. I don't really think it, not saying we shouldn't be getting the best in class, but I think the way the setup is, it probably doesn't got to help matters much.
I think you can't knock Johnny Hayes, by the way, because I mean he's so off Charlie Mulgrew, and we've just spoke about how much he knows the game inside out.
I think it's a bit of a catch-22, because I know we kind of date to death in the group chat, Evening McGinty, but when you're talking about going for the best in class, it sounds fantastic and no having a connection to the club, but see if you're Spanish and your youth development for fucking Valencia or whoever, and you get an offer for Celtic to come in and take a team in essentially the 4th division non-league in Scotland, why would you sign up to that? So to that extent, I can understand why it's ex-players and why the so-called best in class wouldn't be kind of enticed to come to you, or kind of academy, B team, whatever the title would be, that we just kind of seem to make up for ex-players anyway, but that's a different story. But I can understand kind of both sides of it, and that's why I'm signing me up for the fucking nepotism chat and all that, but when it comes to like the academy side of it, a day you're kind of, you're fighting with a hand tied behind your back with the way the setup is, so I can understand it at that level.
I know, I totally get it, and we'll kind of move on to. I wanted to talk about player welfare, if you like. I think this could be an interesting topic. Obviously, Roger recently was sitting saying how players are maybe not too far away from striking. Now, to one hand, I kind of understand, because I'll come kind of back to yourself, James. On one hand, we're talking about all the international breaks, they seem to be more and more, which I think they are. Then you've got the Club World Cup at the end of this season, and focusing on it's brilliant because there's no football during then, but that's when the players are meant to be resting up. Now, I know obviously these guys get paid ridiculous amounts of money to do this. I don't think it should be a financial thing, but unfortunately the finances will get brought into it. But do you think it's all kind of prima donna stuff? This we'll go and strike and stuff.
Aye, sorry, these poor wee millionaires, man. I mean, fucking imagine any of us getting into our work and saying, "Nah, look, I think you're asking me to do a wee bit too much here, so I'm not going to bother. I'm going to fucking just complain about it." They're football players that are getting asked to play football. I get the I know the argument surrounding, as you say, the Club World Cup and all that, but fucking suck it up and go on with it. You're meant to be the best in the world. You're getting paid funny money that we couldn't even imagine. You're getting paid it. If you hate it that much, go and get a job in a factory. Go and get a job in a fucking call centre. Do you know what I mean? Go and do a real job, so to speak, and see how much you like that and how quickly you'd run back to football. So, it doesn't really wash with me, to be honest. It's football players getting asked to play football and they're all put out by it.
I do find it funny how they all say as well, if they would play football, they would rather play football every day than train, and playing football becomes an issue and stuff. But no, I'm not saying we should be running these players into the ground, because obviously Ross, the quality naturally would probably go down. But I suppose playing more and more games is one of the. There's got to be a bit. If you're playing more and more games, you're likely a team that's winning things. So it's just one of it comes with it. If you're successful, you will play more games. As I say, I'm not expecting players to play 70, 80, 90 games a season. But I think what Roger was talking about, it only really affects about 10% of football players, like playing about 60 to 65 games a season. But where are you with it and all that? I don't think the football players are getting much love, to be honest.
No, I mean, I can see it for both sides to an extent, and that the football players are talking about like the quality drops and stuff like that. And I don't think, well, for me anyway, the quality in modern day football has dropped. Watchability and stuff like that, and just the way that the game's played now, I think that it's changed dramatically. Whether it's for the better or not is up for another debate. I think if you're an athlete and you can run now, you'll make it. Whereas in the 90s and stuff like that, even the early 90s, I think your flair players were more prominent, guys that had natural ability. But I mean, for me, the quality, you don't see it throughout the season because it's still a league season. But I think where you see it more is, and this might be an age thing because I maybe don't enjoy football as much as I did when I was a wee boy. But I think in the major tournaments, when I think back to like France 98, USA 94, even Italia 90, even the 2002 World Cup, I think they were like littered with absolute quality. They were brilliant tournaments. And don't get me wrong, some of the more recent tournaments have been really good tournaments, but I think that there is a drop in quality, certainly in that last Euros, albeit there was some good games in it. I think there was a drop in quality, and that could be down to playing too many games. And for me, the World Club Championship being extended is a nonsense. I don't think there's an appetite for it. For me, though, that's where I see it for the other side, and that the players are complaining that this is the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing, and they are playing too many games. And as I said, I take that point on board, but they've signed a contract with these teams, and they're wanting to be at the top of the game because they're one of the best players in the world. But they know that when they sign for, I don't know, like Man City or Real Madrid, that this is what's going to be asked of them, because that's why they sign there, to get to the latter stages of these big tournaments. But for me, if the clubs feel that players are playing too many games and they don't really feel like there's much appetite for this World Club Championship, then they send your big players over to it. Just send your reserves over and make a mockery of it.
I think it's contractually obliged that they
Is it?
meet. I was reading about that.
I mean, that's why they will have brought that in, because they realised that how much of a shambles it is to add this in, because they obviously know themselves that they're asking them to play too many games if they're contractually like be obliged to play their top players. But and then again you see it in the sort of the fans side and stuff like that. And listen, it's hard for me to say for sure how I would feel, but for the outside looking in, I would have loved to have been a professional footballer. Absolutely loved it. Like always would have, making that amount of money. And it's a bit, these guys are totally like detached from reality now. And I don't know if that comes into it a bit, because for me, I would, if I was getting to play football, I'd play every single game that was available for, and I wouldn't moan about it. I would love it. And I understand they want to bring their top level every single time and entertain, but even if you weren't playing that many games, you do go out and have bad days. It doesn't matter about fatigue. It doesn't help. But for me, I agree with James. I agree with what most fans say, that they're getting paid so much money. Just go on with it. I mean, I think Simon Jordan, he speaks about it, and he's brilliant. Like, just go on with it, kind of thing, eh? And I don't know. It's a tough one. I do understand that there will be fatigue, but just go on with it, pretty much.
I think as well, like you're saying there, it is only, say, like, for talking sake, a small percent of players that will be going out, and it is all the big clubs, and the players that will be going out, they'll be the players that are paid the most probably in Europe. So is there any really hassle in asking them to do a wee bit more? And the teams that's going to, like, as you say, it will be the best in the world. And look, even just thinking down the road, like Man City have essentially turned the Premier League into a one-horse race. As much as they like to look down their nose at the football up here, they've turned that into a one-horse race. And I know it's an old kind of cliche, but it's a squad game now. And when you think of the squad that Man City's got, and then you add in and tap it, they're getting to make 5 subs a game. It's no like the olden days where it was maybe the same 11 or even the same 14 if you include the subs back in the day. So these players, they do get rested, they will get rotated.
And they've got massive squads as well.
Exactly. Look, what you were saying about the tournaments, the Euros, I agree with you, but I think that was down to the way they restructured it with letting teams like Scotland in. But but thinking back to the World Cup, like, I think nostalgia probably plays a big part in it as well. Like, I agree with you. Like, France '98, I can remember bitsy, but the first World Cup I remember is 2002, and that's my favourite World Cup. And I think back, I always remember Rivaldo diving against Turkey, Ronaldo with Bammy haircut, South Korea going on a run with Goose Hiddink, and then obviously the final as well. And I think I've just got like nostalgia attached to that, because if I spoke to somebody older, they probably wouldn't be able to tell me anything about the 2002 World Cup. Do you know what I mean? Most people's favourite World Cup is the first one that they can remember properly. Like the last World Cup, the Argentina-France final in Qatar, obviously everything surrounding it being at Qatar, but taking it on a footballing level, I think that's right up there with like the best World Cups, certainly in my lifetime. I think the last World Cup was brilliant.
But that sorry to interrupt there, James. Do you know, I think that sort of speaks to the fact that because that World Cup was in December, that's what I was saying, that you don't see the drop in quality sort of mid-season throughout the season. It's more at the end where everybody's tired and then they're asked to go again and play in an international tournament. I think that's when you see the drop off then.
I know that's fair. I forgot that was in December as well. So that maybe has a point. But at the same time, though, they've still come back and obviously played, because the season was kind of slightly extended, wasn't it? After that, so obviously they are still playing more games. But I as I say, it's just kind of poor wee millionaires. That's kind of my take on it, to be honest.
I think Simon Jordan nails it. He says, like fair enough if you think he's playing too many games, but don't tell me what you don't want to do. Tell me, bring a solution, suggest what we can do to change it. Don't just say, "Oh, I don't want to do that," and then that's it. Like, if you want to have a conversation, bring an idea to the table.
He's bang on, and probably what kills him a bit, Ross, is the fact that these guys, like use Man City for example, they've got a big squad, they've got a great talent pool to pick from. They'll not be flying economy, they'll be flying first class in their own private jets. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to be easy, but they'll be able to get a kip in that plane. They've got their own personal chefs probably at their own house, never mind just at the training ground. They've also got all the nutritionists, the sports science. So fatigue, yes, it will be a factor, but not as much a factor because they're all hooked up to all the latest gear and all that. So I think that's where a lot of this, they lose a lot of the argument, where you think of how well they've actually got it.
That's what I that's my point as well. Imagine you woke up in the morning and you just thought, fuck, I can't be asking in the day, I'm too tired. And you phoned your work and you went, look, I'm not going to bother coming in the day. I feel fine, but I'm just knackered. You'd get fucking chased. So why is it different for football players? They don't need to lift a finger. They've got the best of the best, everything, these players that we're talking about, when it comes to, as you say, like nutrition, recovery, don't need to do anything really for themselves. And they're the first ones out greeting and moaning.
It's mad, but I think as much as I said, I don't think the financial thing should be an issue. I think that is some massive sort of elephant in the room that will not get much sympathy because of the silly money they earn. They're in a very privileged position just to play football and no, obviously football's not easy to play, we'd all be doing it, but it was just kind of wanted to sort of talk about it because obviously the double pivot is, but just do silly things on it, and this is where we are getting silly because we've got to. I was kind of hoping Stephen was on because Stephen was going to. It was meant before us, but then Stephen's built it because we might be struggling for fucking Friday, so he's just got to come on Friday. But I've done a quiz and it was a wee bit to stitch up Stephen. The questions were not in his favour.
You need to stop this, by the way. That's a form of bullying, sir.
Aye, but the questions he rhymes off in that, you're like, you need him to just take down a peg or two. I feel like, but unfortunately, it's between you two tonight. So Ross,
it's not really. It's between James. James will win it.
Nah, trust me, James.
He beats me all the time.
Nah, well, no one I've watched it when Stephen's supposed to. You say the wrong answer, and
he's talking about quizzes over us.
Is it a painting quiz or something? Is that how I've got a chance?
Cheers for 420 somebody. You're the first person to say it tonight. I've taken a wee bit of
I said it off air.
Needs a thicker pair of specs.
Conveniently said it off air, Ross.
No, I like it.
But,
if I was making bank, I would get one as well.
I will see. I've got a big birthday coming up, so I cashed in a birthday present for the mum and dad. So that's I wouldn't have been paying the money for this. Like, not a chance. I'd have been going seeing one of the folk that make the fake ones.
That's a bit steep. Like, what is it? $85 or something?
85 quid. Aye, 85 quid for a top that they'll never wear. Mental. Absolutely
mental. You've got it on the news, so that's a lie.
No, Celtic. Celtic will never
right,
wear.
Aye. Oh, I do apologise.
Right, we'll go on to this quiz. It's just nothing fancy. Just shout at the answer when you know it. We've got how many questions have I got? It's not as much as Stevens, but I think we've got 40 questions. So
40.
We'll just kind of look. Stephen's usually got about 100, and we go to like first to 70 in that.
Fucking hell, I've only got a wee dribble and a pint left, man. I was going to wait until the quiz was five. Aye, I think I will, aye.
I'll send you the answers in Ross.
Oh no, I was talking about to take a picture.
But we'll just kind of, what's folks saying in the comments? Not a lot to know. But I think it was Plunge McNugget had asked about Paul Tisdale. I was going to kind of bring that up in the next bit. Where I don't totally know his official role, James, but I think it's what I've read. It's to do with taking over from Mark Law. If you think, don't know much about it.
I think that was pretty much it. I know it was rumoured last week he was coming in as a consultant or something. I'm being honest, I think the guy sounds like a bit of a helmet. It's just for his stress sense and calling himself a doctor of football and all that. But no, it's just I'm happy enough with it. As I say, like, obviously talking about kind of that role and what that entails, I don't really know. But the guy seems to be somewhat highly thought of, and it isn't a kind of an appointment made through nepotism, as we've seen in the past. So, and apparently I read as well, I don't know if it was true or no, but apparently he was involved somewhat in the summer window, which I suppose would kind of tie in with I've totally lost my train of thought there. It would kind of tie in with no having somebody in that role essentially. We're kind of talking about it on here. We thought it was maybe Rodgers that was doing it also. If he's been involved in, I don't think the summer window was horrendous by any stretch. I think the players have been decent, right down to Luke McCowan as well. And I signed up for more of the same.
Well, we'll get more into it after the quiz because this has got to be my. I was rearing myself up for a laugh and Stephen put it in. So they say first, just shout out the answer when you know it, and whoever has the most points at the end will win. You'll not win anything, but you'll just win. You'll win. Here we go. Question 1. Which former Liverpool striker has played for England in 3 different decades?
Michael Owen.
No. Comments off, by the way. Just remembered about that.
Oh.
For some reason, I went to turn them off.
Oh shit!
James, you just Google those. Google the answers in front of you, doesn't it, mate?
Alexa.
Wayne Rooney.
Famous Liverpool.
When did he play for Liverpool?
Oh, Liverpool. Sorry,
Emil Heskey.
Well done, James.
That was going to be.
It was Heskey or Fowler was going to be anyway.
There's Stephen's on the Google. Stephen's on Google. First one to get it. Googled it, mate. Let's not get ourselves on here. Right, question 2.
He's dropped a knee though.
Aye, so he has. Aye. So he has.
No, for the first time.
Question 2. Which former Spurs player won African Player of the Year in 2007?
Adebayor.
No.
Oh,
Before him.
I can't even fucking think.
Oh, I know.
The only one I can think.
No.
Is it not Mido?
That's not. No.
The only one I can think of, or I can't even mind if it was he French or was he African? Was it Asu Koto, the fullback?
It's not him. Not him either. I think that's who Stephen was trying to spell it here, by the way. Goodness, who he's trying to.
Is he no fucking? Fuck no.
I think it was for Cameroon, so he would have qualified.
Aye, would have.
for it.
Making Spurs.
I can't think him, Dales.
You can pass if he's want. Like, got plenty of questions.
I think I'm gonna hate you.
I can't think him there at all.
Freddie Kennedy.
Aye, Seville.
Aye, mind him.
Mm-hmm. Right, so still 1-0 to James. Question 3. Who won the first UEFA Champions League in 92-93 season following its rebranding? It's obviously when it became as what we know it to know.
92-93.
Aye.
AC Milan.
No.
I think Marseille won it in 91. So was it Borussia Dortmund?
No.
It was Marseille, wasn't it?
It was Marseille. I know you said.
As soon as you said that.
I thought they were the year before.
No, as soon as you said that, I was like, P. McLaughlin and Plunge both got that. Both Marseille, so that's 2-0 James. Question 4. Who became the youngest player to score a hat-trick in the Champions League in 1995?
Kluivert.
No. But by the way, what a shout.
Michael Owen, well before his time, I think.
Well before his time, aye.
Well
before his time.
1995.
Yes, each.
Raul.
Oh, Ross, well done. What a shout. What a shout. So that's
Well.
2-1 to James. Question 5. Which player has played for 7 different clubs in the Champions League but never won it?
Ibrahimovic.
Well done, James.
Well done, James. Well done.
I think P. McLaughlin's buddy Anthony George in disguise. That's his Anthony Dunn. That's his answer to every sort of who am I?
Aye.
It's Vinny de George. Right. Question 6. What is the most common second name in America?
Smith.
How the fuck did you know that?
Could you have asked that?
I was going to say Smith.
Oh well.
Fuck's
So it's that
sake.
4-1 to James.
I'm getting fucking slewed.
Aye, there's plenty of questions.
Sorry, you've got another fucking 80 questions to go.
Aye, I know. Plenty of time to come back, Russ. Plenty of time to come back. Don't worry, Stephen. You're all right. Question 7. No, question 6. I don't even know.
Doesn't matter, fuck.
We've got 41 questions. I've just realised I've got question 5, then question 5 again. So, I could also say, fuck it. I've got all these questions. I take the time to write these out. Who was the first Italian manager to win the EPL?
Ranieri.
No.
Oh no, he wasn't.
I've got this wrong and I actually had the answers in front of me too.
Ah, I know what.
Guess if you want.
Mancini.
No, that's who I went.
I don't know.
Conte. Oh no, it wasn't. I know who it was. It was
Then.
the Real Madrid manager, the new
Ancelotti.
Ancelotti.
You're at the Ross.
All right. So it's that. Is that 4-2?
Big-hearted bastard, me man.
Yeah, James. Yeah. Right. Question 7, but we don't know at this stage, right?
Who did Ancelotti win that way?
Chelsea.
Then. Chelsea, but I would have put it Mancini for him. So
I can't mind him being
just
Chelsea.
I won the double.
Yeah.
Won the FA Cup too. Right. Who holds the record for the most EPL appearances in a row, playing 310 games without games between 2004 and 2012?
Gareth Barry.
No, but by the way, that I understand the logic behind that. But it's not him.
Between 2004
and 2012, so obviously played 310 games without missing a game in the league.
Aye.
Ryan Giggs.
No.
A
couple of answers here. Somebody else has went Gareth Barry. Monty, I don't know what question he's on. He's obviously on the Italian one.
What was the big
Milner,
French boy that played at centre half
Baines.
for Everton?
I've got a pure curveball. Is it a Stoke player?
No.
Ah, bastard.
What was the
Stephen's just saying Everton players at this point.
Aye, well, I was thinking
Manager or
Everton
something.
player, the big French boy that played at centre half for Everton.
It's not him. But what's his name?
You know who I'm talking about?
Distan.
It's not him, no. Nah, I get it then.
So Campbell?
Nah.
I don't know.
Brad Friedel, apparently.
No.
Brad
Never
Friedel.
got that.
Still 4-2. As of the start of season 24-25, which team holds the record for being relegated the most times for the EPL?
West Brom.
No.
Derby.
No.
Norwich.
Right, Norwich, well done.
Oh, aye, well done.
5-2. Which team has won the Copa Libertadores on the most occasions?
Corinthians.
No.
Got to dive in head first and say one of the big two, but I don't think it would be. River Plate, fuck it.
Nah. Stephen, you're wrong too.
So fucking Paulo or something.
Nah, not them either.
So fucking Paulo to get the full name.
I don't know, man.
Gremio.
Nah. Independiente.
Independiente.
That's the one, Ross. This December 26 is known by which name in Ireland?
St. Stephen's Day.
How the fuck did you get that one?
Fucking...
I'd actually done that deliberately for Stephen.
He would have got
that. So it's that.
What's that?
6-2.
I've got 2.
How many
I don't know.
I think it's 6-2. You should be keeping a note.
I think so.
Get my wee digital scoreboard up here.
Right. How many league goals did Mitrovic score for Fulham in the 2022 season, 21-22 season?
18.
I mean, that's just an absolute guess. No, way higher.
League goals?
Hold on, 25.
Aye, no.
Oh,
23.
Keep going.
24.
I
30.
understand. Keep going then.
He said
No.
23.
I mean, just got to keep saying no. I
32.
Somebody said 25 and said keep going, and they went 23. No,
Oh,
43.
43 league
league-
goals in a season.
no, he didn't.
You've got
Aye.
fucking dyslexic fingers if you count
It was
that
in the
to 43
championship.
even.
It was
He
the
scored
championship.
43 league goals. No, he didn't.
It might have been the first season. Well, it might. Well, they play about 38 games, and they played quite a lot of games that season. It might
They
have been
play
the cup as
40
well.
odd, but I mean, holy
It said
rat.
it was a championship season. Aye, see, Prima Galton was it was a championship. Played quite a. Former Barca and Real Madrid player Robert Prozinski played for which English championship club?
Were they a championship club at the time, but they might not be now?
They would have been. I'm assuming they were at the time, Ross, but they have been in the
22.
top league,
I'm
but they
going to
are
go
not
Portsmouth.
now. I've done. So that's 6-4, 6-3, 6-3.
I'm in
In
seven.
which season did Man? Fuck it, it's against James. Yeah. In which season did Man City last play in the English Championship?
Mm. 2001.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say 0102.
Just to stick to tradition, Ross gets it because the actual answer is 0102, James.
All right.
For fuck's sake.
It's Belfast Franny's fucking really seat there.
That's 6-4. Oh, fucking hell, I shouldn't have seen this try to catch Stephen Newton. I can't even fucking pronounce things. La Bombonera is a stadium in which country? Well, I'll give you that, James, because it's Argentina's answer, but aye.
Argentina. Where are you from, mate? Fucking Boca Juniors.
What year was it?
So what's that, 7-4? Right.
Britain and Boca Juniors fought in the Falklands War.
Oh, Danny, the chat's been going a wee bit. Let's Danny
Oh,
go.
okay.
One is coming for you.
Where would you be if you were standing on the Spanish steps?
Rome.
Tapia flight of stairs.
Well done, Ross. That's
What's the score?
7-5.
7-5.
7-5. 3 questions left. Don't you worry. Who scored the first goal in the Champions League final in '96 before scoring an EPL hat-trick on his debut the same year? Nah.
Jari Litmanen? No.
It's rang twice, Ross. Rang the first time.
That me get 2 guesses now. Like, what was it? Scored the hat-trick, what? Scored in the Champions League.
He scored the first goal. He scored the first goal in the Champions League final in '96. Then scored a hat-trick on his debut in the English Premier League the same year.
Oh no.
So 96-97 season.
No, I don't know. I've not got a clue.
Ross?
Better than Ross if you know it.
I'm going to go Riedler.
Nah.
No. Don't know then.
Prima Galton's got it. Ravanelli.
No.
Good answer.
Right, what minute? Which Italian player became the world's most expensive player in '99?
Lentini? No, 99. I thought it was going to be world's most expensive player. So what is it? Which Italian
player became the world's most expensive player in '99?
Oh, Christian Vieri.
Well done, Ross. Done. So what's that? 7-6?
12-7, I think, to Ross.
Was that 7-6? Who's Italy's most capped outfield player?
Chiellini.
No.
Maldini.
No.
Great shout. Totti.
No.
Baresi.
Nah.
Nesta.
No. I thought it should be kind of obvious, this one. Well, I say obvious.
Baggio.
Oh, bastard.
No.
Better. That's all right then. Del Piero.
Nah. We're in the Italian players right now.
Totti.
No.
Still no Totti.
Okay. I knew it wasn't Totti.
Vialli.
No. Last
No.
one, Ross. Last one.
Last one.
Oh,
Nesta.
Still no
he's
Nesta.
still no Nesta either. Fabio Cannavaro. How the fuck did they need to say him?
Just didn't think it was him. I didn't think him.
Who's the last player to win the Ballon d'Or at an Italian club?
Shevchenko.
Doesn't
No.
need to be aye, well obviously it doesn't need to be.
It was at an Italian club at the time, aye.
Aye.
Oh, Ronaldo.
No.
Ronaldinho.
No.
Kaka.
Well done.
Well done, James.
8-5, 8-6.
8-5.
8-6.
Fuck no.
12 each.
8-5. We'll go 8-5. Sounds a bit right. Which planet in the Milky Way is the hottest?
Mercury.
No.
Mars.
No.
Jupiter.
No.
Uranus.
No.
Fuck that, man. I'm not keeping guessing. That's embarrassing.
Neptune. Venus. Pluto.
No. Monty's got it. Well, it's I've clicked the wrong one, but Monty got it with Venus. That's apparently the hottest one.
Well done, Monty.
Who were the last team to win the league outside Celtic and Rangers?
Aberdeen.
8-6.
It was 1-2, wasn't it, James?
Aye, I know this.
Which lower league team defeated Celtic on Roy Keane's debut?
Clyde.
Aye.
9-6. Which Scottish manager led Derby County to promotion in 2007 to the English Premier League? No.
Ooh.
Which Stephen Ross? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if that's every time you get one right.
Aye.
He's getting really
Which Scottish manager led Derby County?
Apparently it's 8-7, but we don't know how much we can trust Stephen James. He said 9-7 now. He's getting 9-7 now.
But to me,
I don't know.
Scottish manager, Derby County. Oh, was it Billy Davies?
Aye.
That's a great shout, aye.
So it's probably 8-7 now. Probably 8-7 now.
Through 10 questions.
There's a few more, mate. Don't worry. Which Scottish club won 2 trophies in 21-22
St Johnstone.
season?
St Johnstone.
Well done.
Couldn't swallow that Guinness quick enough.
So it's at 9-7. Which is the only body part fully grown at birth?
Your eyes.
Well done.
Yeah.
9-7. Who's Spain's all-time record scorer?
David Villa.
Well done.
Oft.
10.
Fucking
10-8.
said that.
10-8. Alongside Barca and Real Madrid, which Spanish team has played 94 consecutive seasons in the top flight?
Valencia.
No.
Atletico Madrid.
No. Mr. McLaughlin got the scoring right.
Real Betis.
No.
I don't know then. Not Deportivo La Coruña.
No.
Is
No,
it?
I know it's no.
No, it can't be. I don't know. I'll be guessing.
Plunge is the only one got it so far. Bilbao.
Well, I was actually going to guess that, but I thought no,
Mr.
it can't
McLaughlin
be.
got
But you didn't.
it.
Aye, I know.
So is it 10-7 still? 10-8?
10-8, I think.
10-8. Which Spanish player was named player of the tournament in Euro 2008?
Iniesta.
No. Ross.
Xavi.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the two of them, isn't it?
Aye.
10-9. Who has the most red cards in La Liga history?
Ramos.
Aye. Fucking 20, man. 20 red cards. That's mental.
20.
Is he still playing? Is he chucked it now?
Well, he was at Sevilla last season. I think he's with a club now. But he was at Sevilla last season, mate. So it's that 10 each. 10 each.
10 each, I
Few
think.
folk.
Aye.
Monty was first in with Ramos. Few folk getting it. What is the world's best-selling stout beer?
Guinness.
Aye.
Aye.
Fucking scandalous. Call yourself a Guinness man. You be fucking ashamed of yourself, man. You should
I
lose
thought it was
points for not getting that.
thought it was a trick question and it wasn't going to be Guinness.
So that's
Overthought it.
11-10. 11-10.
Aye.
Who's the only player to score at 5 different World Cups?
Closer.
Aye.
No.
Ooh. Ronaldo?
Mm-hmm.
Just got to say that.
What one, James?
Right. Aye, what one? Cristiano?
Aye.
Fuck, the other one didn't last that long, did it?
I know, I didn't recognise the player.
I know, I
He
don't
did.
actually.
Because he didn't play.
He
He was at
played.
94, but he didn't play. He
I
didn't
never
play
played.
at all, 94. So that's 12-10. Which former Arsenal player scored in the 98 World Cup final?
T.
Aye.
Fucking couldn't get the name
13th.
there, man. I was going Perez and I knew it was wrong.
Which country has featured at the most World Cups without winning it? Not even one guess yet.
Okay.
Is it the Dutch? Is the Dutch won it? They
No.
already have they? No.
Don't think they've won it now, but it's not them. A lot of folk guessing Holland in the comments today.
Is it Portugal?
No.
South
Chile.
Korea.
No. Who did you say, Ross?
Chile.
Nah.
Australia.
No.
Paraguay.
One more guess, Ross. Nah.
Paraguay.
Mexico.
Fuck, aye.
What?
Fucking mate, the rank continent. I was trying to think all the big dogs should have looked continents.
Did they really let you play anybody in that?
I was trying to think of wee ones for South America, but aye, no, I never got Mexico, obviously. What's it, 12-10?
13-10.
13-10?
Aye.
Fucking hell, I just got it even 10 then, now the
We're
gap's
11
widened.
each or something in a minute, don't worry about it.
Nah, James, don't worry. I'll make it fair. James, don't worry. What's Gavin's favourite number 10? I'm only joking.
What's Cameron's favourite pair of socks?
Ross obviously missed that joke in the group chat.
Aye, I've not seen that one, like.
Gavin had mentioned something. I'd said I had a quiz and Gavin mentioned something about favourite players and I was like, oh mate, that was one of my questions. and I think he taken it literally.
I missed that.
Who was the losing team in the 2018 World Cup final?
Holland?
Croatia.
Croatia.
Well done, Ross. 13-11. Which Netflix show had the most streaming views in 2021?
Squid Pool, Dead Squid, whatever the fuck that program was
Squid
called.
Game.
That one.
Well done, Ross.
Oh,
Nah, I don't know if I can take that, but I will.
can I just revise my Carlo Ancelotti fairness failure, by the way?
Who does Messi currently play for?
Inter Miami.
Miami.
Every time I've never noticed Ross taking a drink because I'm reading the
Okay,
questions. 14-12. Galatasaray won the UEFA Cup. Luis Figo signed for Real Madrid, and Man United boycotted the third round of the FA Cup. Which year was this?
98.
No.
2000.
Aye, 2000. It was fun enough. It was a Club World Cup.
I was 2 years out. What do you get for that?
Aye, you'll get a point. It's against James.
You get a point for every year you were out.
Oh, that's if we got the score now. I think it's 15.
Can I change my answer?
Oh, which African country did Rivaldo play in?
Uganda.
No.
Egypt.
No. Said African, Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Angola.
I think Angola's right, by the way.
Who said Angola? Did I miss that?
James.
Aye, Angola's right, aye.
It was me that said
it. 16 doesn't matter, Ross. You can't win at this point, even if I just try and cheat you.
How the fuck
I've
know?
only got 2 questions left. I've only got 2 questions left. Unless we just keep going.
Cheating, man.
Who was the top goal scorer in the 2021-22 Dutch League?
Giacomakis.
No, but that was the reason I put it in.
Ah, you're a bastard. John Doug Thomason.
Not none of the two.
Okay. Was it Memphis Depay?
No.
Was it your man for fucking across the water? Aye, him.
Nah, wasn't. It wasn't Sam Lammers either. Mr. McLaughlin's obviously at the wind up with. And Mark Duffy, yes, thanks for that. Didn't they quite catch Ross out there? That's tried.
Aye, I just didn't get involved. Was not getting involved. I don't know who the top goal scorer was in that year that you said was 2020.
2020. Sebastian Haller.
Who?
Sebastian Haller.
Oh, right.
And final question. Where is Angel Falls, the world's largest waterfall, located?
Canada.
No. If you've watched Up, come on.
What?
If you've watched Up, you should know this.
I have watched Up.
And you should know this because that's where the boy goes to.
The moon?
Oh,
Goes to the fucking moon, mate.
think of Disney.
I don't know. No, not got a clue.
James,
Jamaica.
No. Venezuela.
Was in the ballpark, kid.
The moon. The moon was in the ballpark. Stephen,
What was the
Niagara.
final score?
Niagara.
Niagara.
Where the fuck is that?
Falls.
I don't know.
Canada.
Aye,
Where James was.
Which? Right, I think it was 16-11 or something. So I really didn't know.
I don't think it was that
James
right.
won. James
Aye, he won. I tell you, he would win. I'll let him win, so I'd be right.
Can't believe you done me dirty with Squid Pool, man. That's fucking remembered, by the way.
Squid Pool.
Ultimately, you then won, Ross, didn't you? Because you said you wouldn't win. So ultimately, you are the winner. So just kind of a thing we've done before on the double pivot. I'm just going to ask folk in the comments just to ask any question they want, and I'll try and bring the best ones up. Doesn't need to be football related. Can be to all us, can be to any of us. So while I just kind of let some of the questions come in, Ross, I'll come to yourself. I'd asked James about the boy Tisdale that's kind of been announced. I think he's got to be Mark Wall's replacement. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if that is what he's got today, but I believe that's what it is. Is it signing you're happy with? It was just, I don't know if you've had a chance to really look into him or that.
I haven't actually had a chance to look into him. I think Gav had he'd posted something in the group chat. It was some podcast or something he'd been on. I might try and catch that at some point over the next couple of days. But it's much like how I always am. Like most of the signings we make in terms of the playing squad, you don't know much about, so you just sort of give people a chance and see what they can do. Listen, it can't be any worse than what was in place before him. So we'll see. He'll come in, he'll do the job, and we'll judge for there. But right now, see, even like we're reading up, I know he's obviously, I think he was managing somebody up until recently. Was it Exeter? Listen, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that job entails, much like none of us probably do. So it's difficult to really read up. But I mean, I'll make my judgment with what he does at Celtic, and not what he's done elsewhere. And I mean, again, maybe a year down the line, we'll be able to talk more in depth about what he's done and what he can bring, and maybe he'll do an interview and he'll give his sort of outline his plan or whatever in the coming weeks. I don't know, but everybody deserves a chance, and that's what I'll give him.
We'll bring up this one for Stephen. I think you should maybe go and see a doctor, Stephen. I don't think we're best qualified to answer your problems, mate. But I'll ask you this one to yourself, James. I think he's talking about our man Tisdale, obviously, because it's kind of could be seen as two bosses. So Pete McLaughlin's asking, do you think it's a good idea to have two managers in the same building?
I seen that on, was it Sky, with the England thing, and no, I think it's stupid. I think it's daft. If you're going to do that, I think you could make in a case for a manager and a kind of an assistant essentially. But even at that, I think you'd be stretching it, especially at international level when you're only getting the players a few times a year, and even with you see with Scotland, a lot of it is based on loyalty, rightly or wrongly. I think kind of cliche and whatever as it is, kind of camaraderie and team spirit and all that stuff comes into it a lot more with international football. And if you've got a manager that's only going to show up for the big games, then I don't think it would work. You could only really do it for the kind of top nations. I don't know if could you even class England as a top nation. Like really, considering they've not won it, I just went a wee bit better there. But nah, it doesn't do it for me. I think it would be daft, and for to say it on Sky and get paid to say it, I thought was a laugh. I know.
It was nuts, man. It was absolutely mental. But I sometimes just think these folk on Sky, Ross, just maybe, or not necessarily just Sky, but these type of programmes, they say it because they know it will kind of bring sort of attraction to the programme. I feel like obviously with your phone-ins where Jim White, love him or love him, he knows exactly what he's doing and stuff. But where are you with that kind of sort of stuff?
I've got no idea what you're talking about, two managers.
The guy on Sky that was it Cavi Solikol said that talking about England. I think it was actually Guardiola they were talking about.
Aye,
This was
just saying
obviously
Lee
a former
Carsley for
professional
the
thing.
qualifiers essentially, and Pep
Aye.
Guardiola is
For
the
the
tournament
right.
manager. if you like.
Aye, so essentially, like,
See how you were
basically
talking
wait
about them being
until-
arrogant? That boy's just taking it to an extra fucking level. I think Pep will
Aye,
just want to
that's-
turn up for 6 games every 2 years.
Aye, but that's also a bit like, not that Carsley's done anything brilliant in the game managerial wise, but it's also a bit disrespectful to him. Whereas you can play the shite teams and get us there, and then when it comes to the big tournament, we'll just bin you. It's a bit shite.
Aye.
Doesn't make sense. Your manager's in, and that's it. But apologies for the vacancy, the vacant look there. I hadn't a clue what he's were talking about. I hadn't seen that.
Oh well, right. Well, there's not really many questions coming in because everybody's just getting too engrossed in Stephen and his pals. So we'll kind of move on. We tried. Hopefully it works out for you, Stephen. But
Oh, right, it was
what?
the Tisdale thing then Stephen was talking about because
Right.
right, aye.
I don't know what they mean by
it's
2
English
bosses
thing.
then.
I think it's because
Aye,
Tisdale
that's
used
what
to be
I
a
thought.
manager.
Aye,
Like,
that's what. See, when it was initially asked, that was what I thought, and then you went and said something else, and I was like,
all right. No,
I've
that
missed
was
See,
it.
I had the
Yeah.
thing that I had the thing that James was talking about, and I was like, that's just. And all I was thinking about is how you'd spoke about how some English fans are arrogant and think they can just go and get Pep. And I'm like, who's this guy thinking he's just got to get him for a couple of games every 2 years?
aye. Then the Tisdale thing, I don't think it makes any difference. We've had Gordon Strachan in the building for God knows how long, and he's manager as well. So I don't
And
think it'll make any difference.
he's certainly got more of a standing in a managerial sense than what is it Tisdale or Tisdale?
Tisdale, I think.
Tisdale. Aye. By the way, I mean, I'm saying I didn't know nothing about that. No, am I getting mixed up? I'm going to talk shite there. Just ignore that.
Right, a wee bit of fun, Ross. Why is Scott Bain still at the club?
For maybe having the Scottish player in the squad.
It's all it can be.
For that, probably nobody else will take him at 32-year-old when he's throwing balls into the back of the net against fucking Sligo Rovers. He's under contract and he's quite happy to take a wage. Other than that, I'm baffled at this point. I've defended Scott Bain in the past and said he isn't as bad a goalie as what everybody makes out. The other night's performance really sort of made that argument look quite silly. I still don't think he's as bad as what folk make out, and he had a really poor game the other night. But again, he's not playing like football week in, week out. So he's probably going to be a bit rusty, albeit that you still shouldn't be. You still should be able to keep goal better than what he did the other night. But I think he's just quite happy to take a wage, and Celtic had him there for the obviously another Scottish guy in the squad. I can't mind what you fucking call that. There's a word for it. But aye. Other than that, I don't know why he's still there. It's getting to almost like the McCarthy stage, albeit that he didn't get as long a term as McCarthy. But it's a weird one, but that's what it is, isn't it?
He must be fucking phenomenal about the dressing room. That's the only thing I can think of, because there must be like somebody in the B team, fucking even the B team, B goalie, that could come in and do the exact same job. I mean, the goals against Sligo the other night, I mean, that was genuinely schoolboy stuff. It was just as well we had the world class talents of Lewis Palmer to bail us out and bail him out as well.
Speaking of Palmer, it's not as much a question, but we know you're a member of the fan club, but Paul Maguire, Palmer was too slow. Would you want to say that, James? I know you're the founding member of his fan club and all that.
I'm the only member, I think, now.
No.
He is slow, but we'd have known that he was slow when we signed him. The same as when you Haksabanovic would have been slow when we signed him. So because you're slow, it doesn't make you a bad football player. It maybe means you don't fit into your style, or you need to adapt, or we need to adapt to fit him in. But look, I like him. I think he's got uses. That being said, obviously Wednesday night's world class performance aside, I thought he's been pretty poor this season. But then goes away for him in Europe and scores a hat trick. No many Celtic players have done that. So look, I think he pulled his sell out the Honduras team and all to stay behind because he knows himself that it hasn't been good enough. And you can't look. It's some. I say it as well, and I think it's probably harsh. Oh God, man! I didn't hate Aaron Moy. He was just fucking very, very, very overrated.
Well done, spelling off.
Checkmate.
No, I didn't hate Aaron Moy. Aaron Moy had a good fucking 6 weeks at Celtic. He wasn't fit when he came in, got up to speed, had a good 6 weeks, got injured, was getting back to some level, and then got injured again, and then basically was away. But no,
Palm had a good 6 minutes.
How fucking dare you? No, look, I definitely think there's uses there. I think if he knuckles down, as I think it was last week when I was on when I said there was his stats for this calendar year don't make great reading, nor kidding aside, but I think there definitely is a player there, and I'm guilty of it myself. I do it. I say he's too slow, but being slow doesn't make you a bad fit with a player. He wasn't fucking rapid when we signed him. Do you know what I mean? We knew what we were getting when we signed him, so I don't think that's fair. What I would say, and as I say, putting my kind of feelings aside for a minute, I think he's been lazy this season. Who was it he started against? Was it Falkirk in the Cup he got to start?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was dead lazy. It wasn't even that he was slow. It just looked that he wasn't actually willing to run. Which is different, and it was just laziness. And then you've got the social media stuff, which I can never ever go. Spikes me as a guy that kind of takes pictures of his Guinness. Do you know what I mean? One of the ones with wee inspirational quotes and all that. But no, I definitely think there's definitely think there's a player there. And I think if he knuckles down, he could. I don't know if he's ever going to be first pick, but I think there is a future for him at Celtic if he knuckles down. And I'll say the same thing I said with Haksabanovic, and it's probably never going to happen. And if it did happen at the same time, I probably wouldn't want to drop any of the three in the midfield either. But I would like to see him getting put in behind the striker just to see how it would go.
That's all very good points. Make sure you're keeping the Christmas card list for Lewis Palmer there. So we'll move on for that. And Ross, will come to yourself. Kieran Tierney's kind of maybe more so on social media because he was at a charity event. I think his contract runs out. There's the chat again. I'm potentially coming back. But if we were to bring him back, would you give him a pay as you play only deal? Because I think he can't ignore the injuries he's had lately.
No, I wouldn't give him that. I think that's a slap in the face to Kieran Tierney for what he gave us. He gave us the really early years of his career and then the early part of his 20s. Celtic ran Kieran Tierney into the ground, and a lot of the injuries that he suffers is because we overused him as a young player. He's a fabulous player when he's fit. For me, listen, I know you've noted that wasn't the question, but for me, he's a better player than Andy Robertson. He's the captain of Scotland. But it sometimes baffles me. Well, I sort of understand why he moves Kieran Tierney to the sort of back three because he can play that. But there was a stage where he was playing Andy Robertson further up the park, and for me, it was baffling because Kieran Tierney is a threat in an attacking sense, more of a threat in an attacking sense than what Andy Robertson is. I think he's a fantastic player. Back to the question, I think, as I said, I think Pagey plays a bit of a slap in the face. If you're going to, it's a tough one because he is really injury prone. That's clear to see. Everybody knows it. But if we can maybe get like 25 games a season out of him, I think that's big. And if we can get the games, if we're in the Champions League and we can get a large chunk of the games out of him at that level in the Champions League where you would need him more, and we were able to keep a hold of like say Greg Taylor, who everybody knows I really rate Greg Taylor, but if we can get Kieran Tierney to play in the Champions League, or to come back to Celtic and play in the Champions League, of course I'm going to take Kieran Tierney over Greg Taylor. It's an absolute no-brainer. But if we could get him in and Greg Taylor could share the load in terms of domestic football and Kieran Tierney played in the bigger games, that would be the ideal situation, an ideal world. But no, I wouldn't bring him back in as pay-as-you play. I would maybe bring him in and give him a, what is he, 26? Maybe, I mean,
26, 27.
26, 27. It's no old, really, for a football player. Give him a 3-year contract and see what happens. Listen, he's had a lot of injuries and they do come back to bite you, and it looks like that is what's going to happen with Kieran Tierney for the remainder of his career. But you do go through spells. He's had a spell where he's been really unlucky for maybe, 4 years now? Basically ever since leaving Celtic. But he could come back to Celtic and maybe not find it as difficult and as strenuous on the body playing in the Scottish League, because he doesn't have to be on the ball and work as hard as what he would have to against top Premier League players. So you might see that he come back to Celtic and be able to play I don't know, 30 to 40 games maybe, and quite easily do that, and then he'll start to see it taking its toll, and that's when I didn't like to talk about Greg Taylor in that sense, because he has been a stalwart at Celtic for the last number of years. But if you're getting Kieran Tierney, it's a no-brainer. But he can get his fitness back up and his injuries under control. And as I said, it probably won't be as strenuous for him to play in the Scottish League. So I would love to see Kieran Tierney back at Celtic, but certainly not as a pay-as-you-play. I think that would be major disrespect to what he gave us and what he can give us again.
Don't think pay-as-you-play, easy for me to say, pay-as-you-play, you never really hear any kind of deals anymore, do you? Certainly kind of any real kind of level, but I wouldn't. I don't know. It's a weird one. I'd probably, if I think he will come in, but in an ideal world, I'd probably give him a year's deal, a 12-month deal to prove his fitness, because he's not going to be coming in on pennies. Do you know what I mean? He'll still be on a decent wage. So if you're going to sign him on a 3-4 year deal or whatever, it's still a big outlay for a guy, and he kind of started breaking down when he was at Celtic as well. He wasn't fucking shy his injuries, and you're right in what you say. We did run him into the ground. So I don't know. He is. I know you're saying he's better than Andy Robertson. I think he's Scotland's best centre back as well. And he is undeniably a great player, but it's just for me, there's too many question marks about his fitness for the wages that he'd be on.
I think in an ideal scenario, like what you said, Ross, is I say an ideal. Kieran Tierney coming in and Greg Taylor working sort of side by side with him, because with his injuries that Tierney's had lately, if that kind of sort of continues, Taylor would still feature a lot of times, like 25, 30 games a season. So you would hope that would be enough. Obviously, there's that ongoing issue with Greg Taylor's contract that doesn't seem to be further down the line, but it'd be two decent left backs to have at the club if that was it was. But I'm just going to kind of move away from that, and we'll move to.
Can I just fling a wee question at you just before we kind of move on for that? Who's your starting left back? The new, getting into the game at the weekend. Who's your starting left back?
Greg Taylor.
But I don't think he's going to be fit.
And I think Vai's actually looked all right the last couple of games. He's maybe looking more up there, but it's just it's maybe a wee bit unfair in Vai. You're basing it off a couple of games, whereas Greg Taylor have got a bigger body of evidence to say I'd be more assured with him.
Greg Taylor's not good enough, but Palma is.
You said it, no me.
And speaking of somebody that, no, I'm not saying isn't good enough, but I think we all have been guilty of saying it in the past, as early as even the start of the season. But maybe is it time, James, to admit that Liam Scales actually is a good defender and good enough to play at all levels for Celtic?
I said it last year as well. There was a wee spell to probably kind of 3/4 of the way through the season where he did go after the Boyle a wee bit, and there was calls for him to be dropped, and he just after that he kind of did improve, and there was still calls to be dropped. He was very much scapegoated, which I thought was unfair. A wee kind of maybe 2, 3, 4 week spell where he went after Boyle, but apart from that, for the start of last season right through to the new, he's been on an upward trajectory, and it's only improving again this year. You see it with him, getting my words mixed up. Man of the match in the Bratislava game, the Champions League, even the Dortmund game. I don't know if you can concede 7 and say any defenders were good, but
I understand what you're saying.
he was covering left back for Greg Taylor for most of the first half. Greg Taylor gets hooked at half time. Ross is away, it's all right. And even Trusty as well. Trusty didn't cover his selling glory in the Dortmund game,
No.
but I thought Scales was the best of a bad bunch that night as well. So it is the biggest games that he's starting up and being counted.
No, I totally agree. And I think obviously he came into the team under a wee bit of desperation. It was more need at the time last season. It was him and Lagerbielke at centre half at Ibrox, and I think he actually got man of the match in that game. And I think it's fair to say he's never looked back. And like you said, to man of the match against Bratislava, which included a goal. I think he got man of the match against Lazio, might have been, or it was definitely a game last season as well. So I mean, I was one of the ones saying we need to improve him. Obviously, you can be very lazy and say you can improve on every player. But if we're going to sort of say guys like Greg Taylor constantly see guys off, maybe Liam Scales just is doing that. He's just seeing every... I think we all believed maybe Trusty was coming in to take his place.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's almost the elephant in the room to suggest that right now this season, Liam Scales has been our best defender over Carter Vickers.
No, absolutely, definitely. And it was the same last year as well. Bringing in Nawrocki for $5 million in the summer, it's just kind of assumed that he was going to be the starting centre back, and it's kind of similar to the way as we trusted the new. Any other time, you'd probably just assume it will be Scales that will get dropped, but you can't drop Scales out that team now. He's been brilliant, and he seems to be improving kind of game on game now.
I know, totally agree. I'll just kind of come to yourself, Ross, to get your... Is maybe Scales changing your opinion as well? Like, I think he's done to a lot of fans, myself included, where it's... As we maybe now looking at him as one of our main starting centre halves, along with Carter Vickers and Trusty, a sense of being a £6 million squad player at this point.
I mean, it's difficult to take him out of that team. Carter Vickers comes back, of course. You have to say he is the number one centre half, and then it's Scales and obviously Trusty vying for that other slot. But right now, I mean, Trusty's come in, he's playing in his wrong side. For me, he's done all right. There's been mixed sort of comments on him. I think his first game against Falkirk, he wasn't great, but you have to take into account that obviously it was a lot of like the first team players kind of missing for the team. It was an entirely new back four, I think, that day, if I remember right. But right now, I think if Carter Vickers comes back in, then Trusty comes out of the team, and he's got a fight in his hands to get into Scales' spot. And I said, tail end of last season, I think it was off the back of the Rangers game. Now, I think it was the last Celtic Rangers game, and I was really unimpressed by Scales in terms of his passing. And I said then, and I said for the remainder of the season after that game, that I felt like he needed replaced in the summer because his passing was like he defends the box really well. His recovery speed, his positioning is all decent. I think the Aberdeen game in the semi-final, his positioning at times was absolutely horrendous, and that sort of at that point sealed the deal for me that we needed to replace him. But this season, I don't know if what he's been doing in the summer or that, but He's came back. He's got a really good pre-season under his belt. He's got the belief of the manager, and I think it's fair to say that now that he is in Rodgers' plans, I think you would have to say that Rodgers has improved him as a player, and certainly his passing this season it's improved drastically. I actually don't recall a game this season where I've went, my God, his passing is so bad he needs to come out the team, like it was last season. I mean, he started the season last season and it wasn't apparent his passing, but as the season went on, he maybe dropped form a wee bit, and it was really evident that his passing was way off where it needed to be. But this season, I have to say, take my hat off to him. He's worked really hard, and he's been probably, you would have to say, because of Carter Vickers' injuries, that he's been our best defender this season. And I stand corrected on him. He's really, really improved, and as I say, I think he defended his box well anyway. He wins his duels. His recovery pace is really good. And now his passing is pretty much up to the mark. What you would expect, certainly to a domestic level. And, I mean, listen, nobody got out of Dortmund with pass marks. But he played in the Bratislava game. I don't remember him putting a foot wrong. He's went away with Ireland, his international team. I know they're not one of the top nations international-wise, but he's went and scored for his international team. I think it might have been his first goal for Ireland. Everything he's doing right now is really good, and him scoring that goal for Ireland, he'll come back and he'll be buoyed and full of even more confidence, and that can only benefit Celtic. I have to take my hat off to Liam Scales. I mean, the very fact that when Brendan Rodgers was asked about him last season, and he says he's the biggest surprise in my career, speaks volumes. And I think he's still surprising everybody, and he's probably even surprising Brendan still. Hats off to the guy, first class, and he's been brilliant this season. And I really hope he keeps improving the way he has, to the rate that he has, because it can only benefit us. And I stand corrected on Liam Scales. He's been excellent.
No, I totally agree with it, and a lot of folk in the comments are the same. I think it's like you say, it's a credit to the guy that he has stepped up in their time we need and managed to carry that pressure. He been at large chunks of last season, certainly earlier on, that it had to be the sort of a senior figure, and he'd only really properly played in one full season as a first team player at Aberdeen. And I think if you actually look back on that summit, wasn't actually great. I think in the space of 3 days he'd been sent off twice or something, or 3 games been sent off twice and conceded 10 goals and was in the team that got beat off Darvel and all that. So I don't necessarily had the greatest time at Aberdeen, but just shows you what they can do. They've just got to have a wee bit of fun again with Carlton Cole was obviously in the media over the sort of international break saying Celtic were a Diddy club or a Mickey Mouse club, Stephen. James, sorry. How very dare I call you Stephen? But do you think this is just somebody, an ex-professional, just try to stay a wee bit relevant, or do you think there's some merit in what he said?
To be honest with you, I seen the quote, the Mickey Mouse Club quote, but I don't know the context it was in. But I think it's just a case of you're kind of better keeping your mouth shut. We seen you for Celtic. We seen you what you were like. As I said in the group chat, I'm convinced he scored the worst goal in the history of the sport up at Inverness. But around about that time we did sign a fair few kind of Diddy's, Carlton Cole being top of the list. Then you'd kind of Kazim Richards, Skepovic, I think was still kicking about then, Scott Allen, guys like that. It just never done anything. So we had a few Mickey Mouse players, but and he was one of them. But I don't know if you'd call it a Mickey Mouse club at all.
I think I read a wee bit, Ross, and I think it was more meaning sort of the training ground sort of thing, when obviously the English Premiership's kind of awash with it, but it's just it just seemed a very strange comment and very strange timing, I suppose.
Well, when I first seen it, I thought that just smacks of a guy that's trying to stay relevant. will just use the name of Celtic to get my name in the papers, and just everybody remember Carlton Cole for what a fabulous player he was. But no, I mean, I think it was. I think I read. I think it was James Peat wrote an article last week on it, and I fully agreed with pretty much all he said. And he alluded to the fact that, like, at that time, Celtic aren't. I've never been a Mickey Mouse club. They aren't. But at that time, I suppose you could sort of understand why he would have thought we maybe were slightly, because obviously Ronnie Dyer was there, and everybody has said that Rangers were down the leagues and Celtic didn't probably spend, and they didn't go out and get the manager that they probably could get. But then obviously Ronnie Dyer leaves, we lose the semi-final to Rangers, and Celtic just go for there, and they go like that. They bring in Brendan Rodgers and everything changes. Ronnie Dyer sort of started it, but then Brendan Rodgers took it to the next level. And the Celtic now, compared to the Celtic that he was at, is night and day. Football's probably even changed drastically since then in terms of professionalism and stuff like that, and sports science and all the rest of it. It's probably even different from what it was 10 years ago. So, I mean, Carlton Cole's talking about the time he was there. And as you sort of said there, Franny, he's talking about, what was he talking about, the training ground and stuff like that. I dare say Lennoxtown has improved even since then. It's, what is it, 10 years? 10, 11 years, something like that. So, I suppose in his experience, there is an element of, I would never say Mickey Mouse Club, but maybe not quite to that level with professionalism as what he was used to in the English Premier League. But certainly now, I think if he came in at Celtic now and experienced it, I mean, I'm only talking for the outside looking in, but I think he would certainly change his opinion on that front.
It's the thing. See when players come out with comments like this as well, and well, I 100% agree with what you're saying there, Ross, in terms of like Fidente Nu and obviously Ronnie Dyer. But it's always the fucking diddies that come out throwing out these comments. It's never somebody that, I mean, the league. It's normally the league that gets talked in, but they were that good they couldn't perform in the shit league that they were playing in. Or was it Freddie Lundberg? It was to pot shots not so long ago as well, and. I mean, you hear it all the time, and it's always the diddies. I know Charlie Mulgrew was fucking Danny's rounds on the podcast, but he'll be on here on Friday night. He was when he was talking about Ronnie Dyer, he says that, I know it's kind of done to death, but he said like the diet thing was massive, and it basically just sounds as if morale was fucking pretty low in the camp, and it was like you were always watching over your shoulder to see if anybody was like kind of spying on what you were eating and all that. He said that he was the best he's ever looked, but he couldn't run the length of himself, and it was like he can say that and he's respectful with it. And even Scott Brown, like when you ever hear Scott Brown in interviews, I think he when he's asked like about his time at Celtic, and he always says he takes a lot for Stratton, Rodgers, and fuck, who am I missing? Lennon, aye, Stratton, Rodgers, and Lennon, and you never really hear, good or bad, you never hear him talking about Ronnie Dyer, and I get the impression at the time maybe all wasn't well in the camp. It certainly looked that way on the park, whether he was ahead of his time or a diddy or whatever. All didn't seem well in the camp, but the guys that were performing, they're quiet, respectful. They just kind of say what was happening. They don't throw wee pot shot comments to, as I say, fucking somebody that was an absolute diddy in the time he spent up here.
No, totally. And Smell the Gloves said he'd be as well as Jamie O'Hara or Jason Cundy and another couple of others. I hope he's talking about Carlton Cole and Noah's, because as you know, we're award nominated content we're getting out here. Can I gain as that? But I'm just kind of I just want to kind of briefly talk about Lassana Diarra. I think he won a case. I don't think it's probably this could get interesting, so we'll not go too deep into it. But it just could maybe change how football looks. So sort of my understanding is he kind of went on strike because he wasn't getting a game essentially at the team he was at, and they obviously wouldn't let him move. They withheld his registration, so he then went in it to the courts, and it was some sort of like employment law. So within obviously FIFA and UEFA, they've obviously got laws to try and so you can't just guys could just play with guys teams certain weeks and all that. But obviously there's unlawful sort of laws within the transfer market, and I think so. He's trying to get the freedom of sort of so he can just move whenever he wants. Whereas if I could essentially just leave just go and tell my boss, like, here's my 4 weeks notice, I'm moving elsewhere. And I think that's what his case is kind of said you can do. Obviously, it's not set in stone. I think it still needs to go through the courts. But if that happens to be the case, James, where it's worst case scenario, that's where he wins this case where essentially you just give a notice period and you're away. Just total changes football massively, is it not?
Aye, freedom of movement, mate. Locomotive Moscow and Charleroi on it. So no, mate. I think what you've said there sums it up perfectly. If Ross is getting the ad there.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to understand it. It's probably way above my station because Monty will tell you he's never met me, but he'll tell you I'm thick. But no, I'm trying to like fathom it, like so that he can essentially give, like, he's under contract, right? Say he's got a 4-year contract, right? He's two year into it, and he's basically playing shite, and he's not getting a game, right?
Well, I think what will end up happening, I don't think you'll hear like 4-year contracts. I think it'll be like year contracts or something, and you'll have to just give X amount of wins period. And for me, transfer fees will totally be a thing of the past.
So what will happen? An asset, essentially. What will happen with, like, say, guys like Mudryk and that at Chelsea have signed on 8-year contracts?
I don't think it'll just. They're going to have to kind of get everybody to fall in line. Essentially,
they'll have to gradually bring it in. It might take maybe 5 to 10 years. I don't think it
would come in. Essentially, because
it can't, man. I mean, you can't just. So, like, say, Matt O'Reilly in January, right? If he was wanting to go in January, and Atletico Madrid had bid money, and he was playing week in, week out for Celtic. He under this possible new ruling, he could essentially go, I know you want me to stay, but I want to go to this team and play in Spain. They're offering 25 million. I'm gone in 4 weeks, and that's it.
Essentially, aye.
That's fucked up, man. You can't.
So you can move about, like any person can move about what.
That can't happen. It just can't. It's.
See, I could be absolutely miles off it here, and I know nothing about it. I only read after you'd mentioned it. As I said this morning, I didn't have a clue, and then I read. I think it was on the BBC website. But what I thought it was, and as I say, I could be miles off it, is that he had been released with a contract at Lokomotiv Moscow. It was either 6 months or a year early, and he was due to move to a club in Belgium, but it was within that 6 month or a year spell, but he wasn't able to sign as a free agent because he still had that kind of agreement in place with Moscow. I think similar happened with Roy Keane at the end with Man United as well. He'd done it, I would say it was 6 months early, he'd done his deal, and he could have technically signed as a new club for a free agent, but Man United essentially blocked it and says you need to wait to the January or the summer, whatever it was like 6 months later. I could be absolutely miles off with
I think it's kind of very similar to that, where it was, he obviously wasn't getting a game and things like that, and had tried to move to a club and then got released.
It's like a no-compete clause, essentially. It's like you're released for your contract, but
essentially that.
You kind of still need to honour the length of it.
You just need to essentially turn up for training because you're not going to get a game at the weekend, essentially, but we'll still pay you. So we'll just move on to that, and we'll let folk that's more qualified talk about it. But we tried to mix it up.
We've done it all right. We've done all right, man.
we'll go back to talk about Scotland. I'm only joking. Just kind of here a wee brief look at ahead to Aberdeen. Ross, obviously back to league action at the weekend. First, I might be wrong, but I think it's your first 3:00 Saturday kickoff on Saturday. If Viaplay was it not? It was Premier Sports. If they had their way, it wouldn't have been that. So I think I know it's only 75 grand, but fair play to Celtic. I'm not saying they're desperate for money, but fair play for Celtic for turning that down. Because on one hand, you could argue what other league would not televise first against second, especially two teams that have won every game so far. But the Celtic board are certainly looking after the fans in this instance, and it is nice to see 3:00 games on a Saturday.
Aye, 3:00 games on a Saturday was like, that's when you were younger, that's all you really knew. But obviously TV deals and stuff like that have changed it, and don't get me wrong, I mean, you're sitting there at the weekend there, the Scotland game was on the Saturday night. Before it, there was no, like, obviously you had international games and that, but it was no like Gillette Soccer Saturday and like that to watch the scores coming in, get your coat on, and then after it, once the Scotland game's done, as much as I love the international breaks coming around and watching Scotland and seeing how they're doing, once Scotland's like the Scotland game's by, the buzz burst. It's boring and there's nothing to do. But aye, 3:00 kickoffs are good. And for me, I think Celtic have done the right thing. I can't remember if it was on like one of the Celtic kind of forums or pages on Facebook or something, but I seen a few guys saying like they were really pleased that the game is still going ahead when it was scheduled to go ahead, because these guys have booked hotels and ferries and whatnot, and that's money that's come out of their pocket. And for them to then change that just for TV for £75,000, it's a lot of upheaval for guys that really commit, excuse me, to go into the game and like take my hat off to them. I used to do it myself. I'm not in a position anymore to do it, but and also it's fucking hard to get a season ticket now if you're not getting you're on the waiting list. But it's 45 year, but whatever. Aye, but for me, it always comes back to the paying fan who go to the game live in the stadium, and as much as you would like to see that game live in the telly for everybody to be able to watch at home and stuff like that, I think the people that go to the game are more important. And as I've alluded to, the guys that pay their money and book hotels and ferries and all the rest of it, for to change that so late in the game or late in the day would be disrespectful and disregarding the guys who are the people that are going to be in the stadium supporting the team and cheering them on to hopefully a victory. So for me, Celtic made the absolute right decision in knocking that back. And maybe my opinion would change if I didn't have a dodgy box, but I have. So there you go.
I'll be honest,
I thought
I'm
the
very
Piles
much the
chat was
same.
done for the night.
What was that?
I said I thought the Piles chat was done for the night, but he's talking about his fucking dodgy box again.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, the Guinness will
Like
give
that.
some dodgy things will come out your box of the Guinness, for sure. That's for
Deary
sure.
me. Deary me.
But obviously yourself, James, you're one of the paying customers that Ross was talking about, and obviously this season, I think it was this season, you got your wee boy a season ticket as well. And I don't know if you take up the European games or not. I'm not sure how that works. But obviously, I'm assuming you'll be happy that the kick-off time's not changed, because if it goes to an evening game, I don't know, then maybe your wee boy can't go because it's clash with bedtimes and things like that.
Aye, no, that's it in a nutshell, mate. The European games are still too young, too late. Like Ross was saying, it's a long wait on the waiting list unless you've got unfortunate circumstances that you can get in. But no, I agree with Ross. I mean, for me myself, it's 20 minutes away, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference for me. Obviously, the rain can come with me now, which is good. But aye, you've got to think more about the guys coming from down south or in Ireland, and for what was put up for it, 75 grand, fucking chump change to the Celtic board. So I fair dues in standing by it, and I mean, you seen it with Rangers, was it last or 2 weekends ago now, the St Johnstone game at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, and it wasn't a great crowd, and look, fair dues, like, fucking, as I say, it is a horrible time. So no, look, they obviously need the money more than us, but fair dues to the board. They get a lot of stick for releasing horrible taps time and time again throughout the season, Franny, and basically treating supporters like customers. So no, it's good to see them stand up for us for a change.
I mean, it's true. It's good that they have turned up for us, and I suppose one thing you could say to Premier Sports is, like, first against second, and they're only valuing that at 75 grand. It's a kick in the teeth at the end of the day. Yeah. But I'll just kind of come straight back to you, James. How you can, we'll not really delve into the game. We'll leave that for Friday. But are you confident of getting a result on Saturday?
I'm actually really looking forward to it, because for what I've seen, I've watched the Hearts game, and like, I think Hearts should have won. They missed a fair few sitters, but Aberdeen look to get the ball down and play, so I think it will be a good watch. I don't think they'll come and sit in, which probably suit us, to be honest. So you just got to hope we can put that Dortmund game behind us, and Ross County, we got the result, but it was a bit of a slog, and hopefully we can get back to the way we were playing, the kind of free-flowing football. And if it is, then I don't think there's anybody in Scotland that can match us.
Nah, much the same opinion. What about yourself, Ross?
Aye, pretty much the same. I kind of have a wee chuckle to myself when people going about it, and it is, on paper, it's a top of the table clash. It is, right? But it's early in the season. If this was Rangers, it would be big, because if they're doing what Aberdeen are doing, then, listen, they're only 5 points off us, but the Rangers have played us. Aberdeen haven't played us yet, and everybody says, like, Aberdeen are our nearest challengers. But it's only because Rangers have played us. Aberdeen haven't yet. Aberdeen are going to play us. And no disrespect, there's a 90 to 95% chance that Aberdeen will lose the game on Saturday, because Celtic are at home and they're a better team. And when that happens, then Rangers will probably win their game, and they'll be in the same points as Aberdeen. So for me, that's pie in the sky that Aberdeen will be our biggest challengers. I fully expect Celtic to take care of them. Listen, Aberdeen, they've done brilliant, and they're showing championship winning form. You have to take your hat off to them and respect what they've done so far. But over a 38 game season, I think they'll finish well off us. I think Rangers will finish well off us, but I still think they'll finish above Aberdeen over the piece. Celtic, for me, will win the game, whether it be by the odd goal or we hammer them 3-4, 5-0. Listen, that could happen. But either way, I think Celtic will win the game. And I think, as James said, Aberdeen want to get the ball down and play. And I think that will absolutely play into our hands. And if they try and do that against Celtic, much like Celtic going to Dortmund, it's probably not as big a gap as what Dortmund and Celtic are. But much the same way, if Aberdeen come and try and play their game and impose it on us, I think that we'll be too good for them, and we'll exploit the spaces with our pace on the wings. And thank God Palmer's not playing, because it might be a different story. But our pace on
number 10.
Seriously though, but our pace on the wings out wide, and they'll really hurt Aberdeen. And as James says, if we play to our level, there's nobody in Scotland can live with us. Simple as that.
No, I fully agree, and I think a lot of the sort of Aberdeen being our closest rivals, like you say, Ross, it is on paper because of where it is, and I think a lot of it's tongue in cheek. I would be very surprised if they. I mean, I hope they do keep it up. Obviously, it's better for the league than most teams that are pushing. But I'm with you. I think Celtic maybe win the league at a bit of a canter like this season.
Right. But I think Aberdeen deserve a lot of credit, because listening to like that PLZ soccer and stuff like that, the kind of narrative seems to be that Aberdeen haven't played anybody. And
it's games Aberdeen would have normally lost.
Exactly.
Aye.
It's the same teams who played last season, and they obviously weren't getting the results they're getting. So, look, fair play to them, but hopefully it ends on Saturday.
And I fingers crossed. I think the striker, the top goal scorer, I think he's injured for the rest of this year anyway. So
Aye, Papa
that
Gay.
might be a big loss to them. Aye, that's maybe a big loss to them. So we'll see, but we'll leave that for the Friday guys to kind of dissect and that. I don't know if I've just missed a joke there or whatever. I really didn't know. I just James said something and Ross just had a wee laugh there. I don't know if I missed a joke.
I think Stephen had called him Papa Gay the other night.
Does not surprise me. Does not surprise me with Stephen. Let's be honest. He's the only guy that called Maresca Marquisio. It's mental. Absolute mental.
We love him though. We love him to bits.
We love him. We love him. But God, didn't get him to pronounce names for fuck's sake. It's horrendous. It's horrendous at it. But no, that kind of concludes everything tonight. We've spoke about Scotland. We've spoke about Lassana Diarra. We had a brilliant quiz. We had a brilliant quiz in the middle. So once again, the double pivot, just as random as the name. But have you enjoyed it tonight, lads?
Aye, decent, mate. Aye, very good.
Quick tools, man. Quick tools.
It's not quite Gav's freers, so. But I'll leave that to the professionals at the end of the day. I'll leave that to
It is Wednesday. It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. It's hump day as the youngins say.
Well, no, for me, it's my Friday. I'm off Thursday, Friday. I'm going through to eat a ham and pineapple pizza. Well, leftover ham and pineapple pizza. With hundreds of pepper, man. It's unbelievable.
Give me 2 weeks and I'll have the pineapple on the pizza, son. Come like him.
Okay. I'm his hero, James.
No, mate, I'm eating that one. Pineapple on a pizza. It's a fucking trendy thing to say that it's shite.
Aye,
it's terrible. Like, it's terrible. On a pizza.
Not a shite.
Not a chance. But it's just, again, thanks everybody for joining in and just helping us along the way. And as Paul Maguire said, good night, everybody. Good night. I don't think he's in the comments anyway. It's obviously past his bedtime, Ross. Must be past his bedtime.
Darn
it. Bye. Good night, everyone. God bless and hail, hail.